Hi there. Happy Monday and welcome back from spring break. It's good to see everybody. You're going to start chapter 7 in The Great Gatsby, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of an introduction because a lot goes on in chapter 7. Okay, so I'm going to read the first page or so, and I'm going to explain one or two things so they'll make sense. Okay. It was when curiosity about Gatsby was at its highest that the lights in his house failed to go on one Saturday night. That means no party this weekend. And as obscurely as it had begun, his career as Trimalchio was over. Okay, now, photobomb. Trimalchio is a character from Greco-Roman times who would have these crazy parties where birds would fly out of cakes. And Trimalchio also had an issue with incontinence, which means that when he had to pee, he couldn't hold it in. So he might have been a mess at his parties. So here Fitzgerald is kind of comparing Gatsby to Trimalchio. Only gradually did I become aware that the automobiles which turned expectantly into his drive stayed for just a minute and then drove sulkily away. Wondering if he were sick, I went over to find out. An unfamiliar butler with a villainous face squinted at me suspiciously from the door. Is Mr. Gatsby sick? Nope. After a pause, he added, Sir, in a dilatory, grudging way. I hadn't seen him around, and I was rather worried. Tell him Mr. Carroway came over. Who? He demanded rudely. Carroway. Carroway. All right, I'll tell him. Abruptly, he slammed the door. My Finn, who is his maid, informed me that Gatsby had dismissed every servant in his house a week ago and replaced them with half a dozen others who never went into West Egg Village to be bribed by the tradesmen. That would be people who are trying to find out information about Gatsby and who he is, but ordered moderate supplies over the telephone. The grocery boy reported that the kitchen looked like a pigsty, and the general opinion in the village was that the new people weren't servants at all. Okay, so seemingly Gatsby has fired his original staff. Perhaps they were gossiping about him and Daisy hanging out in the house alone, and he's hired a bunch of bunglers, probably who Meyer Wolfsheim sent over. The next day, Gatsby called me on the phone. Going away? I inquired. No, old sport. I hear you fired all your servants. I wanted somebody who wouldn't gossip. Daisy comes over quite often in the afternoons. So the whole Coraniversary had fallen in like a card house at the disapproval in her eyes. So he stopped having these parties because he realizes that Gatsby realizes that Daisy doesn't like these parties. There's some people Wolfsheim wanted to do something for. They're all brothers and sisters. They used to run a small hotel. I see. He was calling up at Daisy's request. Would I come to lunch at her house tomorrow? Miss Baker would be there. Half an hour later, Daisy herself telephoned and seemed relieved to find I was coming. Something was up, and yet I couldn't believe that they would choose this occasion for a scene, especially for the rather harrowing scene that Gatsby had outlined in the garden. Okay, so this chapter is going to have multiple scenes, and when I mean scenes, I mean like a scene. There's going to be a scene. There's going to be an argument. There's going to be something really bloody at the end of the chapter too. It's going to be a mess, but there's going to be a lot of fighting, and some things are going to be revealed. So chapter 7 has a lot going on. So if at any point you're struggling through chapter 7, comment on the thread for this assignment. I will answer. I will do another video. I can do a chat. There are a few things I can do, but I will answer your questions. So just let me know. I will help you through chapter 7 in any way, shape, or form. So let's just say you post a question, you don't understand something. I will get on here. I'll get on YouTube and I'll explain it for everybody, because if you have a question, everybody else does. So um, space out the questions for chapter 7. Take 3 days to do it. It should take between 40 and 60 minutes a day of 3 days worth of work. Space it out just like you would at school, so that way you're not struggling at the end to get good answers. If you're working with a partner, your writing should still be your own, and you need to tell me that you worked with a partner. Okay. Well, anyway, behave and I'll speak to you later. Bye-bye. End stream. There we go. And